Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Adams Brothers Podcast. It's a beautiful day here in beautiful South Florida, Deerfield Beach, Broward County, Florida. We're joined here this evening with the Honorable Mayor Bill Ganz. He is the mayor of the beautiful city of Deerfield Beach, Florida. And we have the opportunity to talk with the mayor here this evening and ask him some questions. Mayor Bill Ganz, welcome to the Adams Brothers Podcast.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Great to be here. I really appreciate the offer, and I appreciate what you guys are doing. Happy 4th anniversary. It's my understanding this is the 4th anniversary you guys have been doing this?
Yes.
Yes, sir. It just popped up on Facebook today that it's our 4th anniversary.
Our very first guest was Sheriff Greg Toney. I was our very first guest.
Wow. Well, it's a good way to start. And unfortunately, it sounds like your guest list has gotten worse since then. If I'm the next, it
has gotten good.
It's gotten much better. Much better. And as I stated,
thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. We've been waiting on you to come on here. We know you've been busy working on the budget and doing the business of the city here, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on and talk with us, and we really appreciate it. And like I said, we're joined by the Honorable Bill Ganz. He's the mayor of the beautiful city of Deerfield Beach. And Mayor Ganz, why don't you just tell us a little bit about you and how did you end up here in Deerfield Beach? When did you come to Deerfield Beach? Where did you grow up? Just tell us a little bit about you and tell us about Bill Ganz.
Sure. I'm a native South Floridian. I was born in Hollywood, Florida. There weren't a lot of hospitals to choose from, but that's where I was born, was in Hollywood, Florida at the time. And I grew up in Hollywood area and Pembroke Pines, Cooper City area, and actually unincorporated Broward, way out west. I graduated from Cooper City High School. And so I'm from this area, but I wasn't from Deerfield Beach. And I moved to Deerfield Beach around 1996. I had the opportunity. I lived briefly in Boca after college, and I came here, and we were looking for a place to live. At the time, my fiance and I, and we were looking for a place to live, and the realtor said, "Have you checked out Deerfield?" And they brought us over into the neighborhood where we eventually bought, and I've been here since. So that's probably, since about 1996 I've been here.
Right. And you are, again, you're the current mayor. You also served as the District 4 City Commissioner for 8 years, and you are on your second term here as the mayor. And I believe you have about a year left, I believe, around 10 months. And what do you have planned coming up next, you know?
I don't know what I have planned coming up next, except maybe to take a few Tuesdays off, because after 16 years in office, I haven't missed a commission meeting. I went to every commission meeting for 2 years before I got elected, way back when, for District 4 Commissioner. And it's been a long time being there every other Tuesday, so I think I might take a few Tuesdays off for a little while for sure.
Okay, so no plans of running for any political office down at the county or state level?
Well, we'll see what the calling is. I love to serve, and it's been an incredible opportunity to give back to the community and to be of service to the residents. At this time, I don't definitely have any plans, but I can't say I'll completely walk away into the sunset, but it'll be nice to take a little time off for sure.
Yeah, well, you've gained a ton of experience here over the last, 16 years almost here, man. And you have a ton of knowledge, and you don't want to see that knowledge go to waste, and some people are just, get out of politics altogether. So hopefully you'll, look to run at run another office somewhere down the line and continue to do the work of the people.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Let's talk a little bit about the Pioneer Park, Pioneer Grove area. What are some of the tentative plans for the Pioneer Grove area? And would the plans to redevelop Pioneer Park or Pioneer Grove, would that include just west of the railroad tracks? If you could like elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, we started up with the concept and did some planning studies that were done by the American Planning Association. I think it was around 2014, and then we actually rezoned it in 2017. And it's about 120 acres, maybe a little less, from the Hillsborough Canal to the Brant-Hilda Memorial Park in that area. We've always kind of looked at the Dixie Highway corridor a little bit different than the Pioneer Grove, but definitely have some association with it, and it's supposed to all be part of a comprehensive plan. The idea for Pioneer Grove is kind of have mixed use, walkable downtown that kind of revitalizes the downtown area the way it used to be, with residential, retail, office space, restaurants. Some of the projects that we've done there, we did the Brant-Hilda Richardson Knowles Memorial Park. We're working with all the parties involved to try to bring a Broward County Rail train station into the area. And there is a conceptual design for that. The parcel of land that they're looking at is privately owned, and it is being held up by some of the decisions and some of the debates that are happening with the new river crossing in Fort Lauderdale. But we developed a master plan for the area back in 2015, and what we're trying to do is some of the stormwater drainage improvements in that area. We're looking to do some streetscape projects over there, but we're looking to entice development in that area.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. And I know one of the questions that I always ask you whenever I see you, if I'm at a commission meeting or out in public, is will there be any plans to bring an amphitheater to Deerfield Beach, possibly, hopefully, in the Pioneer Grove area?
Pioneer Park.
Pioneer Park.
Yeah, I love the idea of an amphitheater. I think it really adds to the area. I think it would give us an opportunity to have a lot of cultural events and really be a central gathering place for the residents to come to. The biggest problem is, and I know we've talked about it, is where do you put it? Where do you have the land for it? You want to make sure if you're going to put what people consider a true amphitheater, and if you look at what Pompano has, we don't have the luxury of that size property or the ease of parking to get people in and out of. If you have a parcel that's large enough to put an amphitheater, you usually don't have the parking or the traffic that would be developed because of that would be such an impediment to the neighborhood that it becomes problematic. I think there's a way to do it on a smaller scale that really fits what Deerfield Beach is, because we are kind of we're not Boca, we're not what Pompano is doing. We have a village type feel, and I think there's a way to do some smaller, a smaller type of amphitheater in some areas. We're looking, we've got that East Water Plant,
right?
That is,
good area.
Got rid of some of the old infrastructure that's over there, and we've talked about potentially using that as a cultural asset to kind of bring people around. And that could be a fit for it. Pioneer Grove gets a little tricky because you're talking about green space, and we have limited green space in Deerfield Beach. But I think there is a way to kind of do a smaller version of that. If you look at what we have in Sullivan Park with the small kind of mini amphitheater that we have there, there is a way to possibly do that in those areas. But it's going to depend on what the residents want.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, and that was going to be one of my other questions too, because I was going to bring up that area about where the old East Water Treatment Plant is there. What are your plans to redevelop that and hopefully possibly put a cultural arts center there?
Well, it's right now we're using as storage and distribution for water, and we demolished a lot of the old infrastructure that's no longer in use. So there is an opportunity to do that. And if you look what it's abutting up against, which is kind of an industrial area, it's really a perfect location for it to do that. We just have preliminary plans on it. One of the things that I think people rush to judgment a little bit on the whole Pioneer Grove concept is, first off, government moves extraordinarily slow. It's one of the most frustrating things about being in government. But the other thing is, this is really the planting of a seed that others need to step in and start to, we plant the seed, we kind of get it started, and it's going to take some time and patience. And it's taken a while as it is, but that's the nature of this. I knew when we developed the concept of Pioneer Grove that a lot of the build out of this was going to happen after I was out of office. So, it's all right to plant trees whose shade you're not going to get to enjoy, but I'll still be around to be able to enjoy some of the things and seeing Pioneer Grove come to fruition. And the East Water Plant could be a nice addition to that, and figure out how to utilize that space. Still very preliminary in what we'd like to do over there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very preliminary. Getting a little tongue tied here, but you just opened up the Breakaway Center for Active Aging, and that hopefully, if that Cultural Arts Center makes it to that location there, it'll be close to the Breakaway Center there, and that'll be great, man. I tell you, and you guys did a wonderful job down in Breakaway.
Yes, you did.
Very impressed, man. You guys, kudos to you and your whole the commissioners. Kudos to your whole staff, the city manager, everybody, man. You guys did a wonderful job.
Thank you so much on that. I'm extremely proud of that. We had the Alzheimer's Daycare Center there, and as we renamed it the Center for Active Aging years ago, we had it there for a long time. And then obviously, it was state of the art for about 1981, state of the art. It was definitely in need of an uplift. I'm so proud of staff. I'm proud of the past commissioners that helped get the ball rolling on it. My current colleagues for just supporting it and driving it through. And I thought Commissioner Preston put a beautiful cherry on top of it. Yes. by naming it Braithwaite and tying in the rich historical identity of that area.
Right. Well, wonderful. I saw the city manager pop up on the screen here, but I'm not sure how to bring him in, and I don't want to lose you. So, Mr. City Manager, I know you're probably out there watching us live right now, but
we're just going over to YouTube.
We're just going over to YouTube, so we don't want to try and lose you here. So, Wayne, go ahead with your next question there for the mayor.
Yes, Mayor. We were both at the ULI Urban Land Institute meeting here. I believe that was about last month we were at. Mm-hmm. And I heard some interesting comments. I think maybe one from the former commissioner of Delray. And
he was the mayor.
Was he the mayor?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And I got the pamphlet right here, right now in front of me. But he said some interesting things about Deerfield. He said that Deerfield Beach was labeled a no development town, and he also said that Deerfield Beach has no identity. I'd like for you to speak on that and just tell us what do you think about that when you heard that, and if we don't have an identity, how can we change that?
Well, first off, I love the fact that I love working with the Urban Land Institute. We brought them in originally for our initial development of what the property was over what became Sullivan Park. And that all initiated from a flight to Tallahassee that I was on with someone from the Urban Land Institute that introduced themselves. And we said, hey, love to bring you in to kind of give us some guidance. Now, when they come in, I don't know how much they know about us, but considering he's a neighbor to the north, obviously he would have some insight on it. Mm-hmm. I do think part of the identity crisis that we have at times, and maybe the moniker that we're anti-development, is we go back to the days of the referendum that was passed over on the Barrier Island, and the work of the people from the Save Our Beach group, and really what was a grassroots effort from the residents to stop what at the time was some really rampant overdevelopment and really abuse of some of our resources to development. And that has stuck with us for a very long time. When I first got in office now 15, 16 years ago, that was something that carried with us, and any new development here was very difficult to do. So I think that's part of where it's at. I think the identity is more when you have a kind of a village type feel, you want to do development, but you want to do smart development. Mm-hmm. And we've had projects that have come forward, the developers have brought forward. And at times I feel like we do send missed messages. And that's not just from a elected body standpoint. It's really from the residents as well at times. Mm-hmm. We will say that, we want development, we want to bring these things in, but yet when some of the lighter development that comes forward, we have residents that rise up and are against it, and some of it's
Yes.
based on misinformation. Some of it
Mhm.
is based on old fears, and when we waver or we fail as a government at times to maybe educate the public on what is really going on and what happens, or when we send mixed messages to the development community on, well, here's a project, but you know, they decided not to do it, or the public is in an uproar, and it might be a small amount of people, but sometimes when we wavered, and we've seen it in the past when that has happened, that moniker kind of sticks with you a little bit. I don't think it's necessarily accurate though, because we've supported plenty of development in the city, and you look at some of the things that we've done in the 16 years that I've been in office. We have some of the newest single family home developments in Deerfield Beach that we've done in the last 30 years. Those have been extremely successful. You look at the redevelopments, while they were controversial at the time, but necessary, of some of the old golf courses that we had. And those have been all successful redevelopments that we've had. So while we are very protective of certain areas, I think we're very open to development for sure.
Yes, yes, and I think so too. And I think, like you say, I think a lot has to do with things from the past. I know you do have a lot of people that are against development, any type of development. I see them speak against, and I mean, I like to see sensible development here. Yes. I mean, like I said, I think we need more entertainment, like Daryl was saying. And I know, Mel, we sometimes it's said that we like to compare ourselves to other cities, but I mean, I think it's good in some ways and it's bad in others. But you go to Pompano, I mean, you see Pompano have their amphitheater, and Pompano have people like that you would know, like Patti LaBelle or Charlie Wilson,
Willie Nelson.
Willie Nelson, yeah. And I even see, gosh, I can't think of the guy name with the saxophone. I love his music. Kenny G. I see people like Kenny G, which I love jazz, coming to like Fort Lauderdale and Pompano. And I would like to see, for middle-aged people,
senior citizens,
entertainment like that, or or other entertainment that fits age groups. I like to see that. I would hope to see that in the future, and that's the type of when Daryl was saying about the amphitheater earlier, that's some of the stuff that I hope to see in Deerfield, because I think we need, for the middle-aged people, need a little bit more things to go and attend, kind of like Meisner Park in Boca and other places. I love going to Meisner.
And then to piggyback off of what he was saying, maybe, we have a certain area in the city that they like to hang out and party on the street over there and play the music and everything. But if they had more, more entertainment, like jazz in the park or something like that, I think they'd be less likely to hang out there and, try to have a good time, and maybe take it out to the park, and they won't clog up the streets. So what do you think about that? What do you think about that?
Well, look, I think every city steals from each other.
We do.
Ideas. Yes. And you figure out what works in that city and what applies to what your sensibility, your vision is for your own city. And we have friendly competitions. Mayor Rex Harden and I always tease each other, best beach city. We all do that. Boca Raton, all of us do it. But the truth of the matter is, I respect all the neighboring cities in what they do that fits. And even if you look out west, what Coconut Creek does, I would love for us to have that kind of cultural identity to be able to do that. It's been frustrating in my time in office. We went through the worst economic downturn we've ever seen, and property values completely crashing. The city strapped for money for a very, very long time. Us kind of rising above that, taking care of some of our long-term infrastructure needs, addressing that, developing some of these new areas. But now we've got the opportunity to really take a look at this and what's going to put us on the next level. And if you look at, even on the temporary basis, and one of the projects we have, coming out of the ground soon, or is already out of the ground, but is, going to be opening soon, is over at Avita McKeithen Park.
Yes.
And this is a matter of government in my colleagues and I listening to the public, because we had plans for a complete renovation there in a new building. And people came forward and said, you know what, we want more space. We want to be able to do more things that they have. You look at Pat Larkin Center over in Pompano.
Yes.
We want something like that, and we deserve it. And while you'll have some naysayers to say, oh, they shouldn't have done it, I can't believe they did it, these are the same people that say we don't listen to the public. And yet that was from public feedback.
Yes,
and
it was.
The public was 100% right on that. That gives us the opportunity to host events and have a really central meeting point, that when you add maybe a smaller amphitheater or smaller pavilions that are set up to where you can have music. There's nothing wrong with bringing in, can you imagine having we just lost David Sanborn, but if you bring in someone like David Sanborn or Grover Washington or something, like just having a saxophonist up there. We've got some local talent, as we know.
Yes.
That have gone on to big things, bringing in Marcus to come back to play at a really, something small, but it's all attached, because we're all one city. And if you can have that one central area from Pioneer Park through Pioneer Grove that wraps into over by the old Wellfield, coming up north to Dixie Highway and to Oviedo McKeithen Park, I think that's a nice little central area to have some things. It doesn't have to be grandiose. It can fit what our needs are in the city, because we simply don't have the space to be able to do some of these things without some reclaiming of property from people, which you don't necessarily want to do. But there's a way to retrofit what we have to add those cultural aspects into our city. And I think it's something we need to do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And when you spoke about listening to the public, I was the one that brought up about the seating at the Tigner Center. And I brought it up that night at the meeting, and I was, bringing up points about being able to compete with the DoubleTree. Putting up a new center with less seating than the DoubleTree, and we could have our own Christmas parties at our own facility, like the Tigner Center, instead of renting out maybe, let's say, the DoubleTree. So. Again, kudos to you and the commissioners for listening to the public, because it was very much needed. That extra seating was very much needed. I know it was a cost attached to that, and you all found a way to trim some of the fat maybe out of the budget and find so we could get the extra seating. So again, I want to thank you for that, man. Thank you and the commissioners and the city manager. Thank you all.
And I got one question that goes with the Tigner Center, because I've been hearing a lot of people come to me, Mayor, in the last, I would say, 2 weeks, and I knew it was something that I wanted to just ask. They were saying that, because I know the thought here is to get as much use out of the Tigner Center that we can. And we were hearing, I don't know how true it is, you hear a lot of things that the city administration over in Park and Rec was gonna take up a lot of space over there. And I just wanted to just hear it from you, because like I say, we hear it all the time. And I had been meaning to call Commissioner Preston, but I don't know, maybe you might know, or maybe you might know the answer to that. I know I would like to see that building used up by the public as much as possible with programs, and not so cluttered up with staff.
Well, I'm not sure what the definitive final plan is going to be as far as what goes in there, but I agree with you. I don't think that we should fill that space up with everything that we've got as far as staffing and things like that in that facility. That's not the purpose of this. We want that space to be utilized. We don't want wasted space that's going to sit there vacant for a long time. But you have to have the flexibility to be able to utilize that. I don't want us to say, well, we can't host this event because we put in 30 different desks in there. And, but there's plenty of room there, I believe, for what we have for programming. And I think that's the whole point of it. I don't believe staff is intent on trying to fill that up just to give them another space to be at. I know this is going to be used for programming. And I can tell you from a city commission standpoint, having heard my colleagues who have debated the issue, I don't think anybody up there is going to say that it should be used for anything else.
Okay, thank you, and that's why I wanted to hear that from you. And Mel, what is the most pressing issue that's going to be facing Deerfield in the next 5 years from your perspective?
Well, you know, it's hard to tell you what is the most pressing issue. There's a lot of pressing issues that we have, and I think we're addressing some of the big ones. We're well ahead on infrastructure compared to other cities and things like that. But if you look at what's happening with, I believe, just the affordability of houses in general, and I don't like to call it affordable housing. I like to call it attainable housing, because the truth of the matter is affordable housing has a negative connotation to it. But the truth of the matter is people can't afford to live here in South Florida like they used to. And there's a lot of different things that are affecting that. And, you know, I look at insurance. The insurance rates are putting people out. And what people don't realize is where the big issue is going to be is that the condos all around, not just on the beach, but all around. If you look at those facilities, and I was talking to a mayor, and I won't out him in this, but he shared with me a situation he had. He had a 19 unit condo that was over on the beach, not in our city. And he said that the president of that association and people that lived in that building came to them and said, you know, we've got a major problem. Our insurance rate has usually been about $250,000 for all the units that they have to pay in for, and that building's been there for 40 years. They said they've been paying about that. They knew that. That's part of their, what they go in. I think it's actually maybe a 29 unit building. Now it's gone up to $750,000 to $800,000 for their insurance.
Wow.
They cannot afford their dues to be able to stay there, and they have nowhere to go. Many of them are some of the original owners that have been there, or descendants of them. And I think you see that across the board with and Tallahassee has not done a good job of helping out the residents and figuring out a way to solve this insurance problem.
Live Local Act.
Pardon?
The Live Local Act is one of the reasons.
You know, the Live Local Act, well intended, without a doubt, and I get it. Deerfield Beach is not one of those cities that's problematic when it comes to affordable housing. You look at other cities around here, go find me an affordable housing project, and I hate to say it because I love them, but Parkland, tell me how many affordable housing units are in Parkland.
Not many at all, if any.
If you look at Deerfield Beach in comparison, we're okay. I think the problem is when Tallahassee applies, even though well intended, something that they use it as a one size fit all approach to all of Florida, it's problematic. It's a huge problem for us. And if you look at what the Live Local Act is going to do for us, and there are some people say, oh, this is going to be good for District 2, but bad for the beach area. I disagree with that. I think it's got the potential to be bad everywhere, because here's the one thing it does that, and we just talked about the Tigner Center in public input, it eliminates the commission and the public from having any say of what goes on in their neighborhoods. So if you go back a few years, we had a major project that was being proposed on Dixie Highway. Huge project, 12 to 1,400 residents going to be put in right on Dixie Highway. They wanted to take two parcels of land. They wanted to close an access road that was leading into the neighborhood that really would have done some serious damage to the access for those residents over there, and built this monstrosity there that really couldn't, 12 pounds of sugar in a 10-pound bag. The residents were against it. They came out. We fought against that project. And it was because of that project didn't come forward. Now, that developer wasn't a good developer, in my opinion. They said it was a smart growth project. And what they did is they took pictures from the smart growth website and threw it in their project and tried to make it sound like it was approved, and it wasn't. Bottom line is, I think if that developer had worked with us, we could have had some other solutions there, but they were really gung-ho on a large density project. And the public pushed back, and we fought against it. We will be robbed of that with the Live Local Act. And that's a big problem for us. And when you see potentially it being used as a weapon to say, we want this project, and if you don't give us this project, we're going to go live local. You won't have a say in what we do. That becomes a big challenge for the elected officials, because, and the public, because do you want to say in what goes on? or do you want someone just to come in, meet this criteria, and get a blanket approval that never comes before us? And that's problematic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it
yes.
really ties the city commission. You know, it ties your hands. It's not much you can do. You know, when the governor signed that act, you know, it just took the control away from the cities. You know, we had some control before that, but now we hardly have any.
Yeah, and you know, it's a shame because, like I said, I know it was well intended, and even with the new version of the bill that they just passed in this last session that they did, all that does is limit their ability to go after that floor area ratio grab for a bigger percentage when they compare it to buildings that receive like a variance or a bonus or a special exception. They're not allowed to use those special exceptions to help them get that floor area ratio. So there's been a minor tweak to it. It's a little bit helpful, but it still takes away our ability to have a say in what comes into our city. And that's really disappointing.
Yes, yes. I got one final question for you, Mayor, and I don't know if Darryl have anything because I know we want to let everybody get off. How is the financial situation in Deerfield Beach right now?
Oh, we're the best we've been since I've been in office. We are in a tremendous position to do things, and you know, it's funny. While we are still behind the median range, the median household value of Broward County, far behind it, and that's always a challenge for our city. This is why our millage rate's where it's at. You know, which is still considering we're not the highest millage rate by far. We're actually, you know, more in the middle, if not to one of the lower ones in comparison to some of these other cities. Um, we're doing really well. Our reserves are extremely healthy, the healthiest they've been since I've been in office. And I think the reason why is because, you know, there's a lot of unknowns and costs have gone up so much for different things. You look at what happened with our pier, you know, that's a huge hit to us that financially we were able to do that because we have the money in the reserves to be able to do those things. And, you know, the people talk about us, you know, lowering our tax rate and you know, just doing a distribution of that money that comes into the city. I don't think people really understand, you know, what that would do to our city if we were to do those types of things. And, you know, it'll be a drop in the bucket to the average homeowner, but what it would do to our overall budget would be devastating. So I think where we're at right now has, you know, in all the hard work and some of the slings and arrows we've taken have put us in the best financial shape we've ever been in since in the years that I've been in office.
Got anything else, Wayne?
That's it. We want to just get you all on off of here.
Mayor, before we let you go, I want to bring up real quickly about the Mayo Howard Park. I know we sold the property across from Mayo Howard Park over off of FAU, and I know we have a nice business district. I guess you're gonna build up over there and everything. What are some of the plans that will be for Mayo Howard Park? Because I did talk to Mr. Mayo Howard, his kids, and they would like to see, you know, some more parking for number one, and they would like to see better facilities, more bathrooms, and maybe like horseshoe pits and all of that stuff out there.
More
and
pavilions.
For more pavilions, and that is coming directly from the Mayo Howard, his kids. So what are some of the things, if you could elaborate real quickly on the Mayo Howard Park improvements over there, redevelopment that's coming?
I can't give you the specific plans on it, but what I can tell you is many of the things that you just mentioned are going to be part of that. The improved parking, the facilities, everything like that, that is going to really change that park for the better. And it's going to have a tremendous impact in that area. I think what you're going to see with Mayo Howard Park, it's going to become one of probably our finest parks around. I think you're going to see some really great stuff. It's really going to be about what the community wants, though. Yes. Okay. Yes. You talk about horseshoe. I don't know about any of that, but really, once we start engaging the public, that's where we're going to find out what direction to go in that. But I do know parking, the facility improvements, I think those are kind of something that we know definitely will happen. But I know based on, you know, past experience with the public, I think there's going to be some great ideas and really be able to change that whole area there.
Great,
Yes,
great.
yeah.
And finally, Dixie Highway beautification. I know you started from Hillsboro and you've made it all the way down to Southwest 10th Street. And I know ultimately you want to make it all the way down to Sample Road. Is there any plans to continue from Southwest 10th Street down to maybe 15th Street here in the near future?
We would love to revitalize the whole Dixie Highway corridor. We've been working on that with small plans that we've been doing, and we're going to continue to do that. Obviously, there's a lot of challenges. The government didn't do us they didn't help us out when they first expanded Dixie Highway and tore up those original properties and those owners that had there and made their larger parcels into these small parcels that are there. So when you have a block that's got maybe 3 or 4 different owners on there, but they're very small pieces, it's really hard to kind of bring that all together, especially when they've been there for generations. It's hard to bring that together for development. But the only way to entice development there is continue to make the improvements we've been doing. You look at what we've done along the railroad tracks and Dixie Highway. And I can tell you that carries weight, because when I'm serving the Broward Metropolitan Planning Organization, when I talk to people from the railroad, who work on transportation, they look at what we've done. They've seen the investment we've put in there. That wants them to invest in it in that area as well. So that's a tremendous thing for us. You know, we always have to watch with the redevelopment that gentrification doesn't become a huge issue. It's always going to be an issue. And now we're dealing with things that are a little different than other areas, but we have climate gentrification is a problem. You're seeing that in areas like Little Haiti. You're seeing it in Liberty City. People that are in these low-lying areas, they want to go to the ground that's a little bit higher, and you're seeing them force people out. So as we make improvements to these areas, we want to make sure even our low-lying areas have good drainage, so you don't have that climate gentrification leaking into other areas of your city that might be on higher ground, including the Dixie Highway area that, you know, in development that we don't want to see people forced out, but we want to see that area improve.
Right.
Yes, yes. And again, we want to thank Mayor Bill Ganz for coming on the Adams Brothers podcast. And I feel in my heart of heart, you're going to run. I think you would do good in the state to fight for the insurance. I think that's where your place is be at. I think your advocacy is good, running as something in the state, like a state legislator or in the House or the Senate. I think you can get to the root of the insurance problems, and just want to thank you. And what I'm getting at is, when you get ready to run, come back on here and talk to us. We want to talk to you, because I know you're gonna run.
Yeah, don't forget us, because you're not mayor here, you know, after 10 months. So don't forget about us when you run for the next political office.
I'm not sure. Right now, the only thing I'm running is my mouth right now, but we'll see where that takes me. And I want to thank you guys. And honestly, I'm happy to come back anytime you want. If you have an issue that you want to talk about, no matter how hot button it is, just give me a call. I'll be happy to participate. I thank you for what you're doing for our city. You're vital to and you're exactly what we need. So keep doing what you're doing. I really appreciate it.
We will invite you back.
Yes, we
will
in
the future. Trust me.
We've been talking to the Honorable Mayor Bill Ganz. He is the mayor of the beautiful city of Deerfield Beach. We want to thank him and his entire staff, the city manager, Mr. David Hunt, Rebecca Medina, and the commissioners, your whole staff, man. They're wonderful. We want to thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank everyone, you know, from the mayor on down to the police chief. Thank you all, and thank you for stopping by.
Have a good evening,
Brothers Podcast. Have a wonderful evening, sir.
Take care. Thank you.
You're welcome.